Hey everyone, Dave here from Philly Tech Entrepreneurs with another episode and community feature. Today we are speaking with Scott Wittrock. Scott is your friendly product aficionado, web wizard, coach, and devoted dad who has cultivated a reputation as a thought leader in the space. He's recently launched his company Head for Product, where he is transforming his passion for products into a consulting and web development venture. He has over 12 years of experience and has done things from payment APIs, white labeled app platforms, and just generally brought products to life. When he's not doing product related stuff, he is I believe he has a young daughter and a dog as well to take care of. Scott, how are you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing well, middle of a heat wave in Philly here, so just trying to stay cool as
It's
best I
okay.
can.
Yeah, the camera quality, we're not at the level yet where we can see like beads of sweat on our face. So it's good. It's good that product hasn't advanced, too far here. Are you tell us about your relationship with Philadelphia? Are you originally from the area, and what part of Philly are you living in now?
Yeah, so I'm probably a little bit newer to Philly, but I mean, I'm up to about 5 years now. So I live up in Northern Liberties with my spouse, pup, and daughter that you had mentioned. We came down here. I was in New York for about 5 years prior to this, but originally from Minnesota. And we kind of landed in Philly after being in New York for a bit and just wanting something a little bit closer to family. And like Philly's been a pretty nice kind of home for us lately. It's very very approachable, and like I think the tech scene is like it's a lot of fun. There's some good communities that are building here in Philly, and it's nice to see post pandemics a lot of those kind of coming a little bit more coming back to life in the last, I feel like, 6 months to a year or so. Has been really nice to see.
Yeah, I agree completely. I also moved here about 5 years or so ago, and it was
Oh,
it was
cool.
just enough time to like make a few friends, and then the pandemic came and I lost all of them. But it's like
I
when
can
you're in,
relate.
it's like we were here for like one or
Yeah.
2 years, and then it's like okay, now we're not allowed to leave the house. But it's but I hear you on the tech scene, in just general events, communities starting to perk back up again. PTE was something that existed before and then kind of became defunct, and now sort of here we are. Up in Northern Liberties, and you're working out of Indy Hall, I think. Tell us about some of the
Yeah.
communities specifically that you've been following and working out of.
Yeah, so I mean, I've really kind of loved the indie hall community. They've been a co-working space since like 2006 or so. I think they're celebrating their 17th birthday, which is really cool. But they moved in basically across the street from where I live, which was really wonderful because I knew about them quite a bit, and they're really connected with a lot of different Philly kind of tech and independent creators, which has been really nice to be able to come in and work with a bunch of other people doing kind of similar stuff to what I'm doing. And through there, they host a lot of different events, which has been really nice. The Philly JS Club has been one that I've also been pretty active in. The founder Joe Woods has been, or well, he took it over, and he's been really helping coordinate along with a few other people to bring some good programming, some tech focused programming. And they host them out of Indie Hall here, which has been really nice as well. Plus, they do some virtual events, some hack nights too, which has been a lot of fun to be a part of.
That's cool. Yeah, definitely something we can learn from. I've been emailing a little bit with Alex, who I believe he runs Indie Hall,
Oh
just
yeah,
about potentially maybe using their event space for some stuff that we're looking to do. And I definitely need to connect with Joe as well. I know he's a member in our Slack workspace, and to learn about more what they're doing at the JS Club. Speaking about, individuals creating, businesses or projects, things like that. You recently started Head for Product. So I would love to learn a little bit more about where you're thinking of kind of going with that, where the name came from, and just sort of generally, yeah, what are you working on?
yeah. So I've been helping companies mostly in-house build products. I love building products, software products more specifically. And I've been doing that for a while, and just decided to venture out on my own to both help individuals and companies kind of like up their product management game. So the idea is that like if you're looking to make your first product hire, maybe you're a company of like a dozen or so engineers, and things are going well, but maybe things are a little less organized than you would like. And you're thinking about kind of bringing in a product manager to help kind of help translate that vision into, the execution side of it. Like that's where I can kind of come in and help part-time, which is a little bit more cost effective, and like one, get you going right away, but then also help you strategize for the future. And like, this isn't necessarily like, oh, bring me in full time. It's, I'm here to help you figure out what your next steps are of like, maybe you do need a full-time hire. This is the seniority level that you should be looking at. And like, here's how you grow that team.
That's
So
cool. So yes, this sort
yeah,
of
and
maybe functions. Go ahead.
I was gonna say too, you can ask about the name too. Yeah, it was just kind of a quick thing of just like, hey, what domain is free? And it was like, oh, head for product. It's kind of like, I've got a head for product, but also as a company, you should head for product, like be a little bit more product led in like that sense. So
Nice. Okay, so there's a little bit of play
a
on
play on
words there,
words.
which I like, and you've got the brain as the logo, so everything makes sense. With respect to product management, I'm curious because you had mentioned, maybe you have a team of 12 engineers and you're thinking about, bringing on a product manager and stuff. And, I've done some bootstrapped, software products on a smaller scale, never had a team of 12 engineers, never had more than probably
Yeah.
4 or so. And as kind of the owner, I usually sort of function as the product manager. And so
Mhm.
is that kind of the transition that you see where maybe like the owner, the founder tends to kind of be the one leading the product, and then at some point they sort of realize that, hey, this is a big enough role that we need someone else. I mean, what are these 12 engineers doing without, a product manager to kind of guide them along the way?
Yeah, you really kind of nailed it right there. Like um, product management as a practice exists in any organization, whether or not you have a product manager there. It's all of the stuff that kind of like glues the team together. And at a smaller company, like you said, it typically falls on the founder. But the once you start growing a little bit bigger, that role of the founder kind of can change quite a bit. They might be focused more on partnership, some of those early sales and those sort of things. And like a great example of a company that I've been working with, one of their engineers was like, oh yeah, our founder, he tells us what to do in Slack threads every once in a while, kind of sporadically. Like we know he's got the vision of like where we need to go, but like that's just how it gets communicated. And it's like, he's like, it kind of works, but like if we add like another couple engineers, this is going to get messy really quick. So it's really like me coming in and working with that founder to understand the vision and then help really translate and do like the product work that's required to move teams forward, like writing out clear product requirement stocks, like maybe coming up with a list of like the 20 features and then helping the team prioritize like what should we actually do first, and like kind of helping like really kind of clarify and communicate that vision across the teams. So
Yeah.
it's kind of been my
Well,
sweet spot, and it's a fun place to be. Like I love kind of 0 to 1 and like building stuff from scratch, which is a lot of fun. So
it is cool, for sure. I'm a big product guy myself, so I
yeah,
that's why I probably never wanted to give up the reins to anybody else.
right. It's tough.
It is hard to like let go of the baby, right?
Yeah.
But at the stage where you're kind of coming in on, as you mentioned, that the wheels have been in motion. I imagine that the software development team may have already been, well, for lack of a better word, maybe making some mistakes, or just running into some sort of challenges. Sounds like organization is kind of one of them. What are some of the typical things that maybe we don't know that they're a problem until someone with experience comes in, maybe is able to kind of point them out, or that you often see when you at the time you enter?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I think a lot of what happens is, again, once you start hiring, your first couple of engineers are probably going to be pretty built in on the mission. Hopefully they'll kind of have a pretty good idea of what you're building. But then, once your team starts specializing, and you're like, oh, hey, I really need that like really good React front end person, because like we need this website to be slick and we've got some cool animations, and like they're not necessarily hiring for the mission, and like to be able to help communicate that becomes really kind of important. So like one of the big issues that I see is that somewhere along the lines, the who we're building for gets lost. Like the user of like you're human building software for other humans, but a lot of times, when you talk to the engineering teams, they'll talk about like the feature, like I got to put this button here, but they're not really connected to like what the problem is. And like that can cause you some really bad problems down the future. Like it might create unengaged engineers because they just are pulling tickets off the backlog. Like if the most like successful teams that I've seen are engineers who are like engaged with the problem because they're going to come up with like the cool creative solutions. So like you don't necessarily, as a product manager, my role isn't to come in and say put this button there. It's to come in and say, hey, here's the problem that we have. Maybe here's a suggested solution, but like here's the problem. Focus on that. Like if you come up with something better, like that's what we'll work on. And you know, that gets really lost when like you've just got like a founder who's like, I need this, and this done, you know, to move forward. So because that takes time to communicate beyond just like the thing that we need to do. So that's the real value add that I can do. And I help people like step into it by offering kind of that part-time service.
Yeah, that disconnect is a big thing, and it happens, I think, relatively quickly, where maybe the engineers become disconnected from the end user. I've heard of things, and I could be totally wrong with the company I'm about to name here, but I think it was like DoorDash that has like their engineers do like a day a month of like actually door dashing or something, like
Oh,
using
interesting.
the
Yeah.
app and kind of doing it. And I've heard of other companies where they've had engineers, do a little bit of customer service and just kind of, try to bridge the gap, and sort of put them in front of the customer once in a while. I know it's not really kind of what they're paid to do, but once in a while to kind of give them that first-hand experience. When I was also running a software business, we would have, engineers sit down with some of the people that were using the tool and just kind of see how they did it. Is that are those, tactics and things that you think are kind of still relevant today? And, other than, how are other ways that we can kind of get engineers to kind of understand more about, the end user?
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting bridge to gap. And like because I've got a bit of a technical background myself, I've built web apps and like mobile apps and stuff in the past. I can really help kind of relate with the engineers and bridge that gap, and make it, uh, put it in a way that like really engages the engineers and wants them to connect with like the actual user problem.
Yeah. So for Scott, people that want to learn more about Head for Product, they want to learn more about, your advice, the services you offer, where can they get in touch?
Yeah, the best way is just headforproduct.com. You can connect with me. If you want to talk product, I host some office hours. I'm always happy to jump on a phone call with somebody and kind of connect, especially if they're in Philly. Like, love connecting with other, Philly-based tech people as well. So.
Super cool. And there's something that, I wanted to highlight on your site that I also thought was kind of unique, or at least interesting. You offer some coaching
Mhm.
calls, and the first one for
Oh
30
yeah,
minutes is kind of like a pay what you suggest type of thing, which I
yeah.
think is a really nice model, where it's kind of saying, hey, like everyone's at different stages, and appreciate obviously what a person can contribute for my time. But, instead of kind of slapping just a hard price on it, you're kind of saying, hey, give what you can. So if you're, looking for some career advice, resume advice,
Mhm.
or just product advice, head over to Head for Product, check out Scott, or he's also an active member of our community. So thanks so much for being here today, Scott.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks for having me.